The rising cost of food is top of mind for many Canadians and for food banks, which say.
Hey there, welcome back to our channel. Today we're looking on how much basic food items cost. Have you ever questioned why your shopping cost seems to be increasing steadily? Let's explore the factors contributing to the high cost of basic meals. If you are new to our channel, check out similar videos, and don't forget to share the content with the ones who will find it helpful. Before we get started, do you know what factors contribute to the high pricing of food? The production, distribution, inflation, and food demand impact its price. It's important to realize that these elements are interconnected and may greatly impact the total you pay at the counter. The food we eat comes from a farmer's effort. This is the manufacturing process. Food supply to the market mostly depends on farmers and agricultural laborers. However, several constraints limit their capacity to do so at an affordable price. The price of inputs like seeds, fertilizer, and equipment is one such influence. Farmers experience higher production costs as these inputs rise, which are ultimately passed on to consumers. This does have a direct effect on food prices. Once the manufacturing is complete, it is time for distribution. Transportation, storage, and handling are all involved in getting food from the farm to your plate. Rising fuel prices directly impact transportation costs, driving up the cost of moving food from one place to another. Additionally, infrastructural investments such as highways and warehouses are required to keep the distribution process as efficient as possible. These expenditures may increase the cost of food as a whole, an undesirable state that causes an interruption in these factors to directly impact the food that reaches our plates. Have you heard of the term inflation? In economics, inflation refers to an increase in a country's overall cost of goods and services. Each unit of currency may purchase fewer products and services as the general price level rises. Hence, inflation is associated with a decline in the purchasing power of money. Food costs have been rising steadily since 2020 due to a mix of inflation, supply chain interruptions brought on by pandemics, and levies on some international imports. However, inflation has slowed over the previous 12 months, and the most recent data shows that food prices aren't increasing as quickly as they once did. A country's economic state is closely linked with the food choices its people consume. The demand of consumers may also alter, affecting food prices. Food goods of higher quality or specialization tend to be more in demand as people's earnings rise. Because resources are being shifted to accommodate the demand for specialty products, this shift in consumer tastes may increase the price of staple food items. Weather, too, has an important role in determining food prices. Good weather is essential for growing an abundant crop of fruits, nuts, and vegetables, especially in the spring when planting season begins. However, this year's severe fluctuations have put many growers behind schedule. Farmers believe they can recoup from pushed-back planting dates, but it might take a few months. Meanwhile, according to experts, customers may see fewer options, diminished supplies, and increased costs. The price of food commodities increases by 8.5% for every 1% decline in world crops. After one quarter, a 1 percentage point increase in the Federal Reserve's benchmark interest rate lowers the price of food commodities by 13%. The recent spike in natural gas prices has driven up the price of fertilizer by 1%, which raises the cost of food commodities by 0.45%. The price of food commodities rises by 0.2% for every 1% increase in oil prices. Given that several factors might exert conflicting influences, these estimations can be used to define the prognosis and better explain current swings in food costs. But currently, why are food prices high? Let us see. The pandemic. Production, processing, and retail were among the many areas of the food supply chain that were impacted by the pandemic. The impact of those changes on the food supply chain is still present today. When lockdowns made it necessary for individuals to eat at home, producers who supply restaurants lost a significant portion of their clientele, while grocery stores experienced a sharp rise in demand. In those early months, many food producers tried to adapt their businesses to accommodate grocery customers. Labor turnover, expenditures to safeguard products from contamination, and additional worker training expenses all contributed to an increase in the cost of food manufacturing. As merchants placed hurried purchases to fill shelves, the cost of transporting food to processors and grocery shops also increased. The price that consumers pay for groceries includes these cost increases. The Ukraine war. Analysts predicted that food prices would be impacted early on in the conflict in Ukraine. These expectations were realized. Some of the world's biggest wheat producers are Russia and Ukraine, accounting for 30% of all wheat exports. However, the fighting has made it difficult for Ukraine to keep exporting wheat. The war has destroyed both its agricultural output and export capacity. S&P Global Market Intelligence estimates that between May 2021 and May 2022, its cargo shipments fell by 92%. There is a lack of wheat worldwide because Ukraine cannot play its part as a significant producer. Because there is a shortage of wheat, the price is substantially higher, increasing the cost of processing essential ingredients. Ban on Russia. Western nations have put restrictions on Russian imports, notably oil and gas, as a result of the conflict in Ukraine. According to the most recent CPI report, energy costs increased by 23.8% from August 2021 to August 2022. The pandemic-induced spike in food production and transportation costs is made worse by rising energy prices. Rising fertilizer costs are another factor driving up food prices. Farmers have struggled with growing fertilizer costs since the beginning of 2021, before the Ukraine war. Prices in some regions climbed by more than 300%. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, farmers have been obliged to raise their crop prices due to the higher production costs. Previously existing fertilizer scarcity is only worsening due to Russian sanctions. As we have discussed, the problems let us see how you can cope with them in your way. Budgeting. Establish and adhere to a monthly grocery spending plan. Making more informed decisions and limiting your spending is possible by planning your purchases. Plan your meals. Create a weekly shopping list. You may minimize impulsive purchases and lessen food waste by doing this. Comparison shop. Check pricing at several establishments and consider purchasing generic or store-brand goods since they are frequently less expensive than branded equivalents. Growing your food. Think about creating a small vegetable garden if you have the room and resources. This can lower the cost of fresh produce while giving you more control over the caliber of your food. These small steps can bring about an evident change in your food bills. But have you imagined the harmful impacts of higher food prices? According to this study, most participants bought their meals from supermarkets. Most villagers who received social subsidies did so through retail stores where they could buy groceries. Participants said that due to increased food prices, they could not purchase other brands and instead switched to generic store brands, which they perceived to be less expensive. Suppose people experiencing poverty are not protected from increased food prices. In that case, their nutrition may suffer because their households may not have enough food to feed everyone, which compels them to adopt lower-cost food options. Higher food prices cause the poor to reduce their food intake and adapt to an increasingly imbalanced diet, which has detrimental short and long-term effects on health. Due to higher food prices, people consume a monotonous diet due to the shift in eating habits. A monotonous diet, bad food, and a lack of options can bring on micronutrient shortages and diseases. Changes brought on by rising food prices may include switching to lower quality and less nutrient-dense foods, reducing consumption by specific family members, reducing consumption frequency and portion size, and reducing diet variety, trapping people in poverty at the household level. A community that is undernourished as a result, and more likely, the malnutrition cycle. It is advised that all food prices, not just those of staple goods, be subsidized so that the underprivileged can afford a sufficient diet. To decrease family unemployment, job creation should be improved. Finally, funding for small farmers' agricultural education needs to be increased. Small farmers and people with backyard gardens should receive assistance in agricultural expertise for greater food production. We have now examined the causes of the growing price of staple foods as we conclude this video. These elements influence the prices on the shelves, from the difficulties farmers confront to inflation and shifting customer preferences. We can better navigate this environment by comprehending these dynamics and forming wise shopping habits. That's all we have for you in today's video. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more enlightening information, and comment or ask questions below.